lot of people probably find this hard to believe, and it might sound particularly glib, but I am committed to taking Denison's message to Canberra rather than being a member for Canberra back here. And that may sound glib, but I think I've already demonstrated in the last couple of weeks that I'm prepared to take a little party head on. And, you know, unless you fail to watch TV. Well, someone's got to do it. And this is what I say to people. If you want, people lament on the Liberal Party. If you want the Liberal Party to remain the Conservative Party, then don't vote for me. If you want the Liberal Party to preserve the values of the great Bob Menzies and the way he set the party up, Petro Georgia and Malcolm Turnbull need all the help they can get. You've got to give me a chance. You've got to give me a chance. That's all I ask.
Dan, Cameron, if you don't big note yourself by speaking out on same-sex marriage, can you explain to me why, at the LGBTI forum, you said unequivocally that you would cross the floor on the issue of same-sex marriage? The next day, when drilled in the media, you equivocated and you talked about, well, depending on the actual wording, you might vote in favour of if it's a conscience vote. I want you to commit now, to everyone in this room, without any ambiguity, that you are prepared to cross the floor in the next term of the government if you're elected.
That's a very good question. Straight on the ribs here. Thank you.
Well, this is partly about the issue of same-sex marriage. It's also a lot to do about the parties and the way all political parties are ultimately beholden to their own political self-interest and the way parties control their members. This says a lot about you. You need to clear this up right now.
If the vote is a conscious vote, which it will probably be, then I will vote with my conscience, and you don't cross the floor. Now, I actually had this conversation with Dwight Room the next day, and I said, "Is that how you understood the question?" And he said, "Yes, that's how I understood the question." And it was actually a poorly phrased question, and it was a poorly phrased answer.
Would you cross the floor? Yes or no?
If it's a conscience vote.
If it's any vote? Yes or no?
No, you can't say that because you said legislation. You can't say that because you said legislation.
I would also like to add, Andrew and Cameron, at the forum that we're talking about, also they both supported same-sex marriage, which is that's their position, but they have since now watered it down by including some caveat over about churches. I think there was no mention of that night, and now.
Yes, there was. I have said at every turn, I said that night at the LGBTI forum, I said it on the ABC radio yesterday morning, I have said it at every turn. I'll tell you what I've said. I have said that same-sex marriage is a question of equality and whether or not everyone on this planet and in this country and in this electorate are equal. I believe the Marriage Act must be amended to legalise same-sex marriage, which at the moment in its current form is legislative discrimination. But moreover, and I've said this at every turn, Jonathan, and you know this, at every turn I have acknowledged that all churches are private institutions and ultimately it is up to them and their right who they choose to marry.
So, back to the question here, you would go to Canberra representing us, and if you couldn't get your way, are you prepared to die for us? Jeff.
Death is a complex subject. But no, I think we've seen the way the Greens have functioned in the federal parliament, and I'm very proud to be a member of a political party whose national leader has visited Hobart many times in this election campaign. In fact, I believe our national leader once was the member for Denison in the state parliament, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm certainly, as the Greens, I'd just like to make a point that the Greens are a political party, but the Greens make it quite clear you do actually have the ability to act with your conscience in any area as a member. That said, and I think I'm distinguishing myself here a little bit from the Liberal and Labor candidates, I stand behind everything my party stands for, with pride. I really am. I think the Greens have got the right idea on health, on education, on climate change, and they're in line with my beliefs, and that's what I would like to go to Canberra and argue for. I want to argue for the Royal Hobart Hospital being a centre of excellence of public hospital medicine. I want to see primary care reinvigorated with a reform of the health service. I want to see any child in Moona and Glenorchy and Claremont having exactly the same opportunities in those public schools as any child who's at Hutchins or Farm or any other private school. It's very easy for people to say, I believe in a good public health system or a good public education system, but let's have legislation that means that, and we need that more than ever here in Denison, because the only way that this society is going to pick itself up and have a future is by having an educated society with opportunity. So yes, I will go to Canberra, I will stand up for Denison, and I really mean it, and my background will attest to that.
You will die for it?
I'll be, let's go for non-lethal wounding.
At least you can treat yourself well. Now, what comes first, the electoral party?
Well, I mean, come on, like, I'm from a small party, it's a long shot I'll get elected, but, I mean, absolutely. Absolutely, I would be representing the people of Denison. I think this question comes from a frustration about the lack of accountability of our elected officials. And I think that what I'd really love to see is that in some countries in the world, they have provisions where you can have a referendum and recall your elected representative if enough of the percentage of the population want them to do. Want them. So if they're not carrying out what people in Denison want them to do, then we can get rid of them and put someone else in who will. And I think that would improve our democracy a lot. And I think that I'd love to see that in Denison. But the other point I wanted to make is that I would represent the people of Denison, not companies like guns, not big business, but people in Denison and local grassroots issues. That's what I would be standing up for.
If we say so.
Look, if it is the people's seat, it's the people's parliament, and it's why I'm standing is to represent the people of Denison fundamentally. I care about this city like you do, and these two great cities, and that's why I'm standing, and to ensure that we do get the right representation in Canberra. But it's also representing all sorts of groups and all sorts of interests, and that's why in this whole campaign and also before, it's about engaging all forms of people, whether it be the environmental groups, whether it be still wild, still threatened, whether it be from business groups, whether it be from community groups, whether it be from local government groups. These people are all part of the community, and also obviously everyone in our community itself. It's about listening, learning, and representing as hard as you can, and fighting for what is right. Pardon?
But they're gay, they can't marry on. That's what
So,
continue.
I can go into that. So, yeah, fundamentally that is why I'm standing, and that is what I'm committed to. And definitely, my first thing is to be a member of Denison, and that is fundamentally my beliefs.
So you're going to have to represent us. Fantastic. All right, I've got another burning question. Now, this one's also been driving me nuts since the start of this campaign. Has the presidential-style election campaign prevented local candidates from being heard and part of the campaign? And are the PR companies now driving campaigns?